The last time the Minnesota Vikings beat the Colts, December 21st, 1997. The man who led the team that day is none other than the Vikings legend that joins me today for a one-on-one, Robert Smith. Robert, you're calling the game this weekend, 12 p.m. on Fox, and I know you can't pick a side, but what do you remember most about that game in 97?
Well, it's funny. I've seen highlights of that game on Twitter so much over the last few years. And, if I didn't have the highlights, I would have still thought of the same play. And I think it was the longest run of my career where I didn't score a touchdown. It was like 76 yards. Yeah. Jake was blocking his tail off down inside the 5-yard line. And I wasn't able to get the ball in. I stepped out of bounds. I felt bad and apologized to Jake after that. But, that's the thing that really sticks out from the game.
Fast forward 23 years later, you're calling the game this weekend. And I know it's a lot that goes into it. So for you, what's the preparation that goes into calling a game?
Oh, I mean, you can dig as deep as you want. And that's it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Because you really want to focus on, what's the most relevant information for that weekend. You can go back and you can watch every single game from the last couple of years. And because I'm not an NFL analyst, I'm not around the NFL as much. And so there's a little bit more of a workup getting into a game. Fortunately, they give us access to Game Pass, which allows us to download some of those games. So I'll go back and watch a good game and a bad game from the previous year. Because when you're early in the season, you've only got one game right now, not even the preseason to look back on. So you just have to try and be efficient with the way that you search for information. You read through the team notes, try and get some background on some of the players. Of course, we do interviews with some of the coaches, but you take all that information, you put all that stuff down, always more than you need. And then when the game time comes, you try and pick the right time during the course of the game to bring up those nuggets of information, to really add some flavor to the broadcast.
Vikings and Colts looking for their first win this season, and a lot of storylines surrounding this matchup. But for you, what stands out most about this Vikings-Colts game?
Well, for me, it's the Vikings defense really against this Colts offense. We saw what Aaron Rodgers was able to do against the Vikings defense last week. And, we see this more in college. It doesn't happen as often in the NFL, but you look at a defensive line that had a lot of players missing for various reasons. You have a lot of players that hadn't got a lot of time on that defensive line, not generating a lot of pressure. And that's a bad combination when you've got a lot of young players in the secondary, which is exactly what Minnesota was facing. So I think when you're looking at this matchup against the Colts, especially against one of the better offensive lines in the country, Phillip Rivers does a great job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I mean, that's the matchup that I think is going to be the key defense against the Colts offense. But then for the Colts too, they had some problems stopping the run, especially early. So are they going to be able to stop Dalvin and Dalvin running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield? I think those are going to be the key matchups for me.
Last week, the Colts played in front of 14,000 fans in Jacksonville. Of course, we know the Vikings played in front of 0 fans. Now that there is going to be 2,500 fans at Lucas Oil Stadium this week, who does that favor?
I think that it can favor what we saw with Aaron last week. He was able to manipulate the snap in a way on the road that he normally wouldn't be able to. So I think it can help the offense in that way. But, you turn it around in the defensive side of the ball as well. The defense is normally dealing with the visiting offense having a lot of noise. And so they can have some issues with signaling. And so that maybe that balances that out a little bit. You have to watch the hard count, make sure you're watching the ball, but you probably can signal a little bit easier to your defensive teammates. So maybe that's a complete wash. It doesn't favor anybody but the 2,500 fans that are in the stand.
Exactly, because they'll get to watch a live product. But
exactly.
You talked about the Colts pass offense versus the Vikings defense. Moving to the run defense versus run offense, how do you see things stacking up for both teams?
Well, when you look at the Colts again, they struggled at least early. I think they were having some run fit issues and some fill issues from the linebacker spot. We heard that from Darius Leonard in particular, who's the leader of that defense. The great thing for the Vikings run game with a guy like Dalvin Cook is that he does such a great job on the zone runs, and those can hit pretty much anywhere. So he does a great job pressing on the front side and then cutting back into open lanes. But if you're the Colts defense, then you have to try and cut those things off on the backside, be really patient, not try and crash too much, because Dalvin can even hop outside that defensive end on the backside. Now, Marlon Mack got hurt for the Indianapolis Colts, but backing him up, this Jonathan Taylor, who Vikings fans know pretty well, probably, that are Gophers fans that saw the way that he ran at Wisconsin. He is a great back, extremely fast, also catches the ball well out of the backfield. And watch out for Nyheim Hines, the backup running back there for the Colts as well. He's one of those water bug kind of guys. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he has great lateral movement, excellent speed, and deceptive power.
Lastly, what do the Vikings need to do to get back in the win column?
Well, I think you really have to get some consistency on offense. You look at the time of possession, almost 40 minutes for Green Bay in that first game, and a lot of that was what happened in the first half for Minnesota. And I think it was just an issue that you weren't able to get enough done on first and second down. Third down comes around, not a manageable situation, obvious passing downs. Green Bay was able to generate pressure, and you weren't able to convert on those. And so those drives stalled. I think the biggest key is really to get that offense going, and then to find ways to get some sort of pressure to get the ball out of Phillip Rivers' hands quickly and really change the look. He's a master at creating creative looks defensively that change from the time the ball is snapped until the time the quarterback wants to get rid of the ball. So change that picture and maybe draw Phillip Rivers into some mistakes, throwing the ball to the wrong team.
Interesting game to watch. You can catch that live 12 p.m. on Fox. Robert Smith is calling the game. Thank you, Robert.
You got it.